5 central midfielders Liverpool should sign this summer. Jürgen Klopp really needs to strengthen the centre of the park for Liverpool. It's an area of the pitch that's kind of let them down in recent years, which was one of their biggest strengths when they won the Premier League title. When you're looking at Fabinho, Henderson and Wijnaldum, that was one of the best midfield threes in Europe that really suited Jürgen Klopp's gegenpressing style. Now looking at Liverpool's midfield line, it's a little bit weak with the likes of Naby Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain and James Milner all leaving Liverpool on free transfer, Arthur going back to Juventus, and of course Thiago's injury hit spell at Liverpool might be coming to the end pretty soon. So looking at that, Liverpool have obviously got some young players in there, the likes of Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, that should be used for the long term, but they need some players around the age of 22, 23, 24 to really build out this central midfield zone. So looking at midfielders in terms of from a tactical perspective, what they are required to do for Liverpool, I think there's a number of positions. What we've seen in recent games for Liverpool, or probably since April, is a bit of a change in their system, where we're looking a little bit more as a bit of a free 8 concept, with the 2 central midfielders operating in high areas, Trent Alexander-Arnold inverting into defensive midfield, joining Fabinho in that central area and getting on the ball. This, of course, has seen a great return of form to Trent. We've also seen some rotation in positions, with Diogo Jota playing as an inside forward and the central midfielder dropping in to act as a third centre-back. Really fluid from Liverpool, and I think definitely going in the right direction. So for me, this splits into maybe 2 players that Liverpool need to buy. A player that can come in and play number 6, as a bit of a Fabinho replacement, and someone that could probably play in the inside left and inside right channels. Curtis Jones, of course, finished the season in great form in the inside left position. So maybe looking for this inside right player could be quite interesting for Liverpool to gain a kind of foothold in that central midfield zone, again blocking off that zone with 4 players. So looking at those characteristics for midfielders, let's start by looking at a player that plays in Liga for Nice, and that of course is Khephen Thuram. Lilian's son, Marcus's brother, a player that's really come out of his sort of shell this season. In terms of his profile, he's a tall centre midfielder. 6'3", powerful carrier of the football and likes to drive with the ball at his feet. In terms of when we're looking at his statistics, he likes to carry the football. He ranks in the top 3% of players in Europe for progressive carrying distance. He's also in the top 6% for carries into the final third and carries into the penalty area. A very progressive carrier. We're looking at the stats over the season. He's averaging 1.3 dribbles per game completed at a 66% completion rate. Looking at his average positions over the season, you can see he likes to operate in that left channel of the pitch, either left central midfield, getting on the ball in those deep areas, or higher up. In terms of games that I've kind of analysed this season, his performance against PSG in a 2-0 defeat was pretty decent, but I think one of the big things here was playing almost like a left winger in their kind of 5-4-1 formation, operating high up the pitch and driving forward with the ball at his feet. It's one of those things with Thuram, I don't think he's that good deep on the ball. When we are looking at this kind of Liverpool shape that we looked at there, let's bring it back to the kind of classic 4-4-2 structure. Thuram would definitely come in as this left central midfielder. He'd probably operate in the inside channels, looking to get on the ball and then carrying through. He's got a really interesting profile as a footballer, and I'd argue that he's probably should be playing a lot higher up the pitch. For me, his skill set is more reminiscent of a number 9, a player that can carry the ball, a player that can hold the ball up well when it's going into his feet, dropping those passes back, but also a player that likes to kind of drift into the channels and then cut across the pitch and look for through balls for teammates running in behind the defence. I think he's got an interesting profile, but I just don't think central midfield is the best position for him. I think for Liverpool, one of the biggest things that you need as a Liverpool central midfielder is when pressing the football, and at times Thuram looks a little bit laboured when he's going to press the ball, so he can sort of slowly move out there to press the football, then get bypassed by 1-2 and then the player run off his back. I think in terms of his other the other parts of his skill set that I do like, I think he's got good ability in and around the box when it comes to shooting. He's not scored many goals over his career so far, but I do think that's something that Jürgen Klopp will look at and think we can add that to his game. Looking at the stats over the season, he's only scored twice. But there's been moments where I've looked at him, powerful volleys, good finishes from outside the box that you think could be a good option. I think one of the things for Liverpool that he's not going to do is progress the play. Very much not a player that's going to, get on the ball in deep areas, and play those forward passes, breaking the lines into the feet of the forwards. The only time that he really plays forward is kind of when he's looking for a bit of a 1-2. He'll fire the ball forward and then move off the ball to try and receive the 1-2. And at times it's a little bit almost inconvenient for the team, because when he's played that pass forward, then he's made the forward run. If that centre forward doesn't retain possession, there is space in behind to attack. I think he's got potential as a 22-year-old, but I think there's things that he needs to improve on. His first thought being a dribble every single time. That needs to change. He needs to be adding, a range of passing to his game. I think he needs to work on his switching. He needs to be a little bit better in the negative transition. But again, Jürgen Klopp's one of the best coaches in the world. There is a blank canvas there that could produce a very good player, but I do believe he's a forward. He's a player that might play wide left, might play as a centre forward, or could even play as a kind of second striker option. Again, that height is something that I'd utilise. Moving on to the second player that Liverpool should sign in central midfield over this summer, and a player that would be helpful in build-up would be Manu Kone. Kone is a player that I've been watching for a while. I am a big fan. He broke onto the scene as a really good ball-carrying central midfielder that won the ball back, that was aggressive, that really added something to his side, that allowed his team to kind of have him in that central area, carry through. Some of his best performances have come against Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga, and for me, that's a great starting point from a central midfielder. Since then, I think he's really evolved into a smart midfielder, uses a good use of passing at the right time for Borussia Mönchengladbach, protects the ball well, but more importantly is very involved off the ball. I think he's a good player in the transitional moments for Borussia Mönchengladbach. He very much does sit in a double pivot with Julian Weigl, protects the back four, in a sense usually sits at left central midfield, protects the back four, wins it back and transitions quickly. I think for Liverpool, if they wanted to switch to a 4-2-3-1 shape with Manu Kone in that deep position, playing as a bit of a secondo volante or a deep lying box-to-box midfielder, could be a great option for Liverpool, kind of changing, allowing Harvey Elliott maybe, or even Diogo Jota to play in a higher position, closer to Gakpo, knowing that Manu Kone is going to boss the show in the central area, Robertson providing the threat maybe out wide on the left-hand side, could even rotate it round with Salah maybe becoming more of the natural number 9, Gakpo playing as the inside forward like we saw him for PSV Eindhoven, and kind of Kone just sitting at defensive midfield next to Fabinho, with Trent coming inside, creating kind of a 2-3 structure. Alternatively, what we could see with Liverpool is Fabinho playing as a half-back, dropping in between the centre-backs in possession, allowing it to be a Trent Kone double pivot would be really nice. Got a very high defensive work rate as well, which means this position at defensive midfield for him would be really good. He's averaging 17 challenges per game, which is a very high rate. So he's a player that will win the ball back, that will carry through, that will play well, and more importantly, had a really good game for Borussia Mönchengladbach against Jude Bellingham this season. And of course, Bellingham is one of the players that is regarded as one of the best young central midfielders in the world, and Manu Kone arguably kind of bullied him in that game. Gladbach won that game 4-2 with Manu Kone grabbing a really good goal in that central area. 8.1 rating on SofaScore. Of course, won 8 out of his 11 duels. In terms of tackles, 5 out of 5. A number of those were on Jude Bellingham. 2 shots, both on target, and scored a great goal. So let's take a look at that goal, because I think it's a really interesting one to kind of talk about the quality of Manu Kone as this kind of secondo volante, this deep line box-to-box player. So we pick up the play just after half-time. Gladbach have gone long and played Jonas Hoffman into the channel. We pick the play up with Kone just behind Jude Bellingham, in and around the centre circle of the pitch. What I like about Kone is his ability to play box-to-box. Really energetic, got a great ability to cover ground. As you can see, as the play kind of moves forward, Hoffman carries the ball back. And at this moment now, Kone has got the advantage on Bellingham after Bellingham being in a better defensive position. Hoffman then cuts inside. Kone attacks the space in front of the Borussia Dortmund defence. Bellingham at this point has basically understood that this is a big situation that he's maybe got wrong in this sense. Great sort of first touch from Kone out of his feet, and then a lovely low shot across the goalkeeper, showing that not only can he carry, he can dribble, he can make good, smart decisions, but he can put the ball in the back of the net from this deeper position. So overall, Manu Kone would be a great addition to Liverpool's squad. I think he's got that kind of gegenpressing style to him, where he's all action. He can press, he can pass, he can squeeze the opposition, can intercept. He's got a lot of qualities and would be an excellent signing for Jürgen Klopp's side. So let's move on to the Premier League ready option. That, of course, is Alexis McAllister from Brighton, who I feel would come in and replace Fabinho. For me, Alexis McAllister is at his best when he's in a deep-lying midfield position. I think he's a fantastic deep-lying playmaker, really good at taking pressure, brilliant at finding the passes in between the lines, and would be the hub for Liverpool in defensive midfield. I think when you look at his statistics, the big thing that comes out from his statistics is the goals scored. 6 out of his 10 goals, though, in the Premier League this season have come from the penalty spot, but of course you have to score those goals as well. With Liverpool looking for a penalty taker after Salah's misses this season, could be a great option. But he ranks in the top 1% of players in Europe's top 5 leagues versus midfielders for shots, shots on target, expected goals, and in the top 2% for goals scored as well. I think for Liverpool, we could see a potential change in shape and structure, or we could go back to what we had previously this season with McAllister just coming in for Fabinho's position, playing in that inside position, instead of Trent Alexander-Arnold, with Liverpool potentially playing, Curtis Jones higher up the pitch, pushing Robertson into a back three and creating the kind of 3-5 structure that's become super dominant for Liverpool. Again, Brighton building a kind of a box of 4 players. So similar to what Liverpool are doing, you just got to imagine that the next box of players is Brighton's 2 strikers. For Liverpool, it will be their 2 central midfielders. Could be Jones, Elliott, could be a combination of, one of those and a new signing. But I think the big thing that McAllister will bring, it's that playmaking, that ability to break lines, defensively very good as well, really underrated when it comes to tackling and winning the ball back. And having that ball playing base of Trent Alexander-Arnold and McAllister would be very, very good in terms of unlocking the door and getting the likes of Mohamed Salah and Jota into goal-scoring positions. We could technically as well potentially see, the natural overlapping from the midfielders and Elliott operating in a wide position. Pep Linders speaks a lot about these outside midfielders moving wide, and that's what we could see from Liverpool. Maybe Salah playing as the inside forward and Elliott as a kind of Matt Zala, a guy that's going to operate in those wide areas. It'd be a great option. I think it'd be a really, really good signing. Alternatively, we could see, Fabinho retained if he gets his form back in certain games and getting him into that defensive midfield zone, building with a midfield 3, throwing Andy Robertson into those advanced areas, and again, attacking with a kind of, front 5 shape that we kind of know Liverpool are going to do. Slight different build-up, 2-3-5 for Liverpool, kind of what they did in their title-winning season, kind of having those 3 central midfielders, of course, one of them being Trent Alexander-Arnold, moving from full-back into the inside area. And finally, let's take a look at 2 more players that Liverpool could sign. First up, a direct replacement, for Fabinho. Bruno Fernandes would be so good for Liverpool. Was 6th in the Premier League in terms of through balls completed with 25. He'd be the perfect guy. He is that roaming playmaker. He's that player that can receive, that can get involved all over the pitch, that will drive in certain areas. It would require Liverpool to potentially have a little bit more responsibility with Trent dropping into a defensive position, but being directly involved in 9 goals in the Premier League this season from defensive midfield at Newcastle would be absolutely outstanding. Do I think it's going to happen? No, it would be very, very expensive for Liverpool to bring in McAllister from Brighton and also Bruno Fernandes from Newcastle United. So looking at a cheaper option there, if they wanted to sign a Bruno or a McAllister to play the 6th role, bringing in number 8 would be Enzo Lefebvre from Lorient, available for £15 million. In terms of statistics versus the Liverpool team, only Trent Alexander-Arnold had more progressive passes and passes into the final third than Enzo Lefebvre. In terms of his statistics, he was directly involved in 11 goals from central midfield in Liga, which is the same amount of goal involvements as Jones, Elliott, Henderson and Fabinho combined. But he also won the 10th most tackles in Europe, showing that he's got the ability that Liverpool need to win the ball back with 63 tackles won, which is more than any other Liverpool player. He's also got great quality from set pieces, in the top 3% of players in Europe for dribbles completed versus midfielders. He tackles, he creates chances. He's an absolute steal at 15 million and would really balance the books for Liverpool. But anyway, guys, get into the comments below. Which of these 5 midfielders would you sign for Liverpool? And how many would you you sign? For me, I'd go for Kone. I'd look to try and get Bruno Guimaraes. I'd definitely sign Enzo Lefebvre and put maybe a McAllister backup if Bruno Guimaraes is unavailable. Do get into the comments below and let me know. I've been Statman Dave on Statman Dave Clips. Subscribe if you're new, like the video, and we'll see you soon.